Who Day. Let me say that again. Who Day to all those who celebrate. Welcome back to another episode of the Gridiron Jungle. Emergency pod, emergency drop. Here with your two favorite Bengals fans. I'm Rich here with my brother Philly. Phil.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask you like I always ask you, and I think it's gonna be a little bit different today. How are you feeling?
In the words of one of my favorite gifts, sensational.
Sensational. Today is a good day to be a Bengals fan. Not only because we signed two of our best players back, as you see the title Jamar and T get paid, but also just a step in the right direction. I know there's been a lot of myths about the Bengals and
hmm
spending money and all that.
hmm
And I know there's been some national heads who know the NFL to say, hey, the Bengals aren't cheap, they're just frugal. But yet we still hadn't seen a ton of big contracts. You know, the Joe contract, even though we know we get him signed, that was still some question. Now think about that for a second. And that's
hmm
kind of the relationship with this Bengals team and the management and how they negotiate. As good as Joe Burrow was, he had taken us to a Super Bowl at that point. There was still question about whether or not we were really going to get a deal done with him. You don't hear that about any other big time quarterback of Joe's caliber. And that's just kind of the reputation of the Bengals. I think our reputation precedes us. And it was good to see that we got two guys. They thought we were going to struggle with one. We got both of them back and shows the influence that Joe has on this franchise as well.
Absolutely.
Um, there were reports, I think Saturday night, that started circulating about a deal had been done. I think Friday we had heard like from notable people that a deal was imminent, right? It was going to happen. They extensive talks, negotiations have going on. Then Saturday night it was reported that it was done. However, it was not real news.
hmm
And I think last night, Sunday night, going into Monday, we got the official word that the contracts were done. I woke up to a text from my boy Chaz. Shout out to Chazzy Chaz, um, with the deals and the numbers. So looked it up, verified it was real. Phil, what were your thoughts when you saw the official news?
It was one of those situations where it was more so it was the relief that that what you knew it was coming. It's like when you get that confirmation on that big news, and you're like, man, I don't want to speak on it until the ink is dry. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to spoil it. It was that type of feeling. Like in my mind, I felt like this was always the outcome. I mean, 2 years ago, I felt like I was the only person saying that T wasn't going anywhere. People were, once he got the tag last year, it was, oh man, this is T's last run, and I just never felt that way. So it was gratifying, it was satisfying. It was a lot of different things, but overall, man, it was just pure bliss, man. It was an amazing feeling as a fan. And like I made a status. I dare somebody in the national media to call us cheap now. I dare you.
Listen, it was, as I just mentioned, just a good day for Cincinnati fans. Get to see some of our top guys stay, especially after all the speculation. It's been a couple years now.
hmm
You know, Jamar had to hold in last season. T's been franchised twice.
hmm
We didn't know if this was over. I remember specifically, not last season, but the season before, one of the Fifth Third Bank has, if you're a Fifth Third member, they have these discounts on game day. I forget what they call
The
them. 50,
third item of the day, item of the game
yeah,
day.
something like that. And I remember the season finale, the home finale, at least a couple seasons ago, they had T jerseys, and a lot of people were wondering, like, let me go snatch one up now because we aren't going to have these the next year. Right? T's going to be for another team, and here he is, played another year. People say he wasn't going to play under the tag, played under the tag this past season, got tagged twice. Are they going to trade him? We should be looking at wide receivers, and here we are. So it's been a long road, and to know that I think T is signed through 2028, Jamar and Joe through 2029. It's just a big relief. And based on market value, we got T a little bit cheaper. Some say just right. Some say just right. Some people say that maybe he should have been in that $30 million a
Absolutely.
year range with Ayuk. I think he still can get there with like incentives and ladders and things like that. I think he can still average 30 million a year. But for the number we got him, I'm not mad at it. I don't think we officially even reported the numbers. Do you want to do the honors, Phil?
I was gonna say the official numbers that I saw were the 4 year 115, which equates to 28 and a half a year. So as you alluded to, I mean I think that was T being generous. I feel like T took a short there if I'm being honest. And I also made a statement earlier. I said T Higgins needs a statue, because not only did he, in my opinion, take undervalue. What if you look at the DK Metcalf contract, if you look at the Brandon Ayuk contract that you mentioned, I definitely think that T Higgins could have and should have got more. And while the total numbers for T and Jamar are combined, I thought Jamar got a pinch higher than I expected, and I thought T took a pinch lower than expected. But really, the beauty, in my opinion, in the T contract, which was expected in the Jamar contract, it was great to see the Bengals guarantee year two. So that again is a sign of the front office willing to do things differently, willing to structure contracts differently. So this is a win on so many levels. If you're a Bengals fan, if you're a Bengals player, if you care about the Bengals at all, this is a win in many different ways. So
Absolutely. Reset the market. I do have an interesting question to ask you towards the end, just about that. That was something I had written in my notes, just maybe not Bengals related, but I just want to get your thoughts on it. But
okay,
reset the market, as we said, highest paid non quarterback in the league. 40.3, I believe, is the average. 4 year, $161 million. I think 112 guaranteed. I forget what was T's guaranteed. 2 years, I know it's 4 years,
T
115. First two
T
years
was
guaranteed.
57 guaranteed.
Okay, then shout out to Rocky Arsenal.
Mhm.
Shout out to
Yeah,
Rocky,
big
man.
shout out to Rocky Arsenal. Rocky Arsenal said he wasn't getting one deal done without the other. So at the end of
It
the
was
day,
smart.
that was a sacrifice by T switching agents. To be able to you're eliminating one extra person in that negotiation. You're not having to bring Mugaleta and Rocky Arsenal to the table and say, let's get these done. You can just deal with Rocky, and get both deals done simultaneously. So, granted, it was a week later than we wanted it to happen, but here we are.
It got done. It got done. A lot of shout out to everybody out there who said or called it once T switched agents to Jamar's agent that T's staying. He ain't going nowhere. Which made sense, right? You don't sign on with your teammate's agent if you expect to go somewhere else,
Right.
unless you expect to get two big deals back to back. But I think we know how that played out. What do you think about the ramifications for it when it comes to now the expectations are really there? I
I
think we
mean,
have like over $10 million difference of combined wide receivers. So I think the next duo is making, I think the Jamar and T are making 69, and the next duo is making like 57,
yeah,
58, something like that.
and I mean, if and I think those deals were done 2 years ago. So,
Yeah.
or if I mean, at the end of the day, that's just inflation. That's the cap. So in my opinion, that's a wash. It's just the Bengals could have had those same deals had they done it at that time. So if Philly was in that same predicament today, they're gonna pay what the Bengals paid. So I'm not too caught up on that. I'm not pressed on that because the cap is gonna continue to go up. And at the end of the day, if we you talked about those expectations. I feel like the expectations remain the same. Like I was Super Bowl or bust this year, and we didn't make the playoffs. I think all Bengal fans kind of had that expectation, you know, given the the recent success that we had when Joe Burrow was healthy. We felt like last year, not this past season, but the year prior, we felt like the only reason why we didn't make it was because Burrow got hurt. So, our expectations have remained high. So, from an expectation point, I think the only expectation now is really for us to, shift gears and focus on the defense and hopefully hit in the draft. Because I think the expectations still are to be a championship contender.
Yeah, as they should be. It just comes with a lot more public scrutiny when you guys getting paid for it.
For sure.
First, it was you ain't paying them. Shame on you. Now, as you pay them, you better
Mhm.
produce. They
Right.
always produce, but they got to come to win. So that's going to be something to keep track of. But I don't see any middle ground on it. It's either they're going to be so locked in, and Joe's got his weapon backs, and we make that run and we win that Super Bowl, like we say, or it can fall off the wagon. I don't see the latter happening. I really think that we're going to be back in the hunt. Everybody's taken care of, secure, no worries going into it, and we'll be good to go. That's what I
And
really think.
yeah.
You about to
And
say something? My bad.
yeah, I mean, like you talked about those expectations. You talk about people saying we pay too much, but in the words of Dan Horde, the voice of the Bengals, if this is what Joe Burrow wanted, if this was Joe Burrow put his neck out for, I trust that guy a lot more than any armchair GM, any talking head on ESPN. I'm gonna go with the guy that's on the field with those dudes each and every Sunday, competing, and when they're all playing together, we're winning. I'm gonna go with his opinion over anybody else's.
That's real because they literally were just having talking head conversations about should Joe Burrow request a trade out of Cincinnati.
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So how quick the tables turn? Obviously, nobody will really come out and say, or they'll bash the contracts. Oh, you still don't have a defense, blah, 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 whatever. We can't win for losing, so it is what it is. The question I wanted to ask you, unless you had something else to say about Jamar T.
No, I just think it was great. Joe talked about the plan that they had to keep them all together, and now we see what that plan was, and it's great to see a plan executed. So that's all I really got to say
Absolutely.
on that.
Absolutely. The question I wanted to ask you, I'm not going to save it to the end because it has to do with wide receivers.
Hmm.
Jamar's making annually $40 million a year, just a little bit above that.
Hmm.
The next closest is Justin Jefferson. So he did keep his promise. He's going to beat him by more than a penny.
For sure.
Jefferson's at 35, CD's at 34, and a couple more people down the list. So there's a wide gap right now. And I wanted to know, Phil, who is the next receiver that's going to hit 40 mil? Because all those receivers I just mentioned, even Amon-Ra St. Brown, they all recently signed deals. So they're not
Right.
on the table to kind of reach that number for at least another couple of years. Who's the next young receiver that you see is going to be due for that big extension that's going to take him over 40 million?
That's a really good question, and if I have to look at players that's in the league right now, I mean the guys that come to mind really came from this most recent class, and that would be a Marvin Harrison Jr., a Malik Neighbors, a Brian Thomas. I would say it's one of those guys, but
Let
I
me
don't think
let me
any. I
ask you.
don't think. I don't think any of them are that. I
So
don't. Maybe Neighbors could be, given the success he had with the quarterback situation that he had, but I don't know.
yeah, because I mean, part twofold is who is it going to be, and I guess the other part of it unofficially is how long does this record stay? Like how long does 40 the number right
Yeah,
before? Is it until Jefferson or Lamb get another extension, or do we see a Garrett Wilson, someone paying him 40 million a year? Do we see Puka getting 40 million a year?
you
Like,
name two guys.
do you see JSN getting 40 million a year?
You name three guys I really love. I don't see any of them reaching Jamar.
They shouldn't,
Like
but
at
if they
some
treat it
point,
like
at some point, even though the cap is rising, at some point you kind of got to draw the line, and the market has to increase for another position. Maybe that's corner, because corner has to catch up with receiver or get at least
which
get closer to it.
we
We're
just
seeing
saw that happening with
you know
Derek
we're
Singh the Jr.
there you go. We're seeing the running back and J.C. Horn. We talked about that nonsense.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
Pat Surtain's probably really upset right now. But we talked about. I think we talked about the running back market kind of starting to get some more value back.
Hmm.
Maybe the safety market is going to get some more value. But I think right now, we're gonna more so be looking to fill in that gap between Jamar and Justin Jefferson. And I don't know if there's anybody that's gonna surpass Justin Jefferson. I mean, if I'm a team, I'm using that. Like you're not Justin Jefferson, you're not Jamar Chase. Like you're gonna have to
That's
slide in behind these guys. You might have to take the same exact deal that IU got. So yeah, I mean, I think teams have some leverage because I mean, Jamar Chase got this deal coming off of arguably the greatest season a receiver has had in recent history. I know it's not Megatron's 2K, but I mean, when you look at his season in totality, man,
yeah, that's gonna be the biggest thing. It's you do have two sound examples. Jamar's so good that you literally can't tell another great receiver like, look, you ain't Jamar.
It's and it not come across disrespectful, and it not come across the way.
Right. And I guess the reason I even asked because we've seen teams reset the quarterback market on people that shouldn't be reset. Trevor Lawrence making the same amount of money as Joe Burrow is insane. But
Insane.
because the quarterback position is so important, they feel like they have to pay these people. You know what? Trevor Lawrence asked for 55 mil. I will start over in the draft. We're not winning anything anyway.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and run this shit back. You
Yeah.
can hit the free agent. Go get your money.
Yeah.
And come back. We'll see if we match it. But I'm not paying you 55. Daniel Jones, when he got the contract he made, was making 40 million.
Nonsense.
Like some dudes, like
I
you don't
think
have to
Jared
reset it.
Goff
I think
and Tua getting over $50 million. I think that's ridiculous. Jordan Love,
yeah.
all right. Josh Allen, even though I hate him, cool. Burrow, absolutely. Dak got a problem with it. Like I need
Dak
more.
being the highest paid quarterback is insane. 60
Yeah,
mil is
I need
crazy.
more than the empty buckets that Devin Booker gets. Like, what are you winning? I don't care that you threw for almost 5,000. Like Dak, yeah, whatever. I don't want my Cowboys hate to get involved in this episode, so I'm gonna leave that alone. But at some point, to answer your question, circle back to the original point. Like at some point, you got to draw the line, and I just don't see any receivers surpassing Jamar in the next few seasons.
Yeah, man, let us know out there, man. If you're listening, write in, hit us up, DM us at Gridiron Jungle on Instagram. What's the email address too?
GridironJungle@gmail.com.
Yeah, write in who you think the next receiver to make 40 million or break Jamar's annual is going to be. I think we talked a little bit about what player it could be. I think Micah maybe some really good defensive
I'm
players to
so
pay as
glad
much
we
as that.
got that Jamar deal done before any type of Micah deal, because I don't know which way that's gonna go.
Me neither. Me neither. But shout out to D Hall. That's for him to worry about. Um, Sticking with the Bengals, obviously the conversation has turned to Trey Hendrickson.
Yes, sir.
Talks have been heating up about the idea of Trey staying in Cincinnati, which he's wanted to. I don't think that's ever been a question. It's about whether it can be done. There were reports about the Bengals asking price for Trey was a little bit absurd. But now it seems like maybe Trey might stay a Bengal. What does that look like to you? What are your thoughts? Do you want to sign it? What is that number going to be, especially knowing that T took a little bit less? What is an ideal number for Trey to sign to? And do you think he stays in Cincinnati or do we continue with this trade talk?
Yeah, so I've been on the record saying that I think the Bengals should trade Trey Hendrickson, but as things continue to progress and news comes out and we hear more information and these deals get done, it seems like a deal is gonna get done with Trey Hendrickson. And he's got 1 year, basically $16 million left on the table. Um, if you
He's
were
not
to
playing
make
for that this year. He's not
no,
playing for 16 million this
right,
year.
right, I get
I'm
it,
not
right?
telling you. I'm just telling everybody else out there listening, just to
Oh,
be clear. He's not
now
playing for 16.
if you were to say force him to play that because he's asking for 32 million or he wants Max Crosby 35, whatever the case may be, you can say, hey, you're gonna play this out. We'll tag you next year at 33 million, or you can take this 2 year $60 million on top of this 16 that you got this year, and now we're looking at 3 year 76. We're looking at 25 and some change a year. I think that's right in line. I can't pay you more than T. And T took 28.5. I think we got to get Trey in that 25 to 27 range. So I think if you can get a 2 year $60 million deal and guarantee what 40, I think that gets it done. And I think both sides are comfortable with that. Um, and I think that gives you a lot of flexibility, going into the draft. And also, I mean, Trey's number definitely would go up this year from that $16 million cap hit. But once the numbers come in on Jamar and T, I think both of their numbers will come down. And then, if you do identify a guard that you want to sign, you can potentially cut Wilson and save a couple $1 million. You could potentially still cut Pratt or trade Pratt and save some more money there. So, um, but I definitely think they get an extension done with Trey. Like you stated, I don't see them making him play out this deal, or I don't expect him to play out this deal. And it doesn't sound. I feel like if a trade were to, if a trade was going to get done, it'd be done by now. Like if a team really, really, really was sold on Trey, they would overpay or at least, you know, on something because there's no other edge defender out there right now that's close to what Trey Hendrickson is. So.
Yeah, I think some teams are just waiting it out. Like I always talk about Phil or talk to Phil about this in our dynasty league, right? It is I don't have to make a move yet. I don't have to right now. Like it's fun because everybody else is making a move. There's action going on, but you don't have to. And I think some teams are waiting until draft and just saying, let's see how things shake out. Let's see what we're realistically willing to do, and then dare them to say no. I think that's going to be one of those things. All it takes is one team, as we mentioned on our last episode, to come in with that offer to say, sure, he's yours. He's yours. We'll make sure we pack he backs his bags tonight, sign him to his extension, and you're good to go. I'm under the belief that if he does get signed, I think it'd be soon. While he still has this freshness of the band is getting back together. And maybe he is a little bit more inclined to say, all right, bet I'll take 25, 26 a year. If that means we're all sticking together, if we all chipping in on this thing, and then I'll do that. If he doesn't, then I still look at, all right, that just means either A, the Bengals aren't paying that, which I think they would pay that.
I would think so.
Or, nah, bro. Like, this is the only time in my career that I can cash out on $30 million a year. And I still think I'm worth. I think the problem is, and I don't know if he's wrong. I think the problem is Trey thinks that he is worth Crosby money, and he has every right to feel that way. I can tell you right now, Bengals aren't paying Crosby.
No, not a chance.
Like it's going to be tough to get to 30. They, like you said, they can't. They didn't even get T to 30.
Yeah,
and you can't really make more than T, even though you mean the most. And from a just schematics, man, we just our defense isn't going to be elite.
Yeah.
Right. So having Trey on the team or not, yes, it makes a difference, and he makes some big time plays. But as you're creeping on the other side of 30, and in our AFC North where they run the ball a lot, you're not a sound run defender. The options are there. I would love to see it, but I don't want to get ridiculous with the number. Matter of fact, now that we signed Jamar T, I'm really going to be nitpicking the trade deal if we get one done. Like, I don't want to overpay for him as much as I love Trey. And people know I was saying way before Trey was Trey, right? Like Super Bowl year. I was saying Trey's the top 5. People was laughing at me when I say he's top 5, top 4 defensive end.
For sure.
And every single year he's gotten better. So I want him on the squad, but we have so many holes on defense. I think you hit the nail on the head. We have to draft very well. Like we have to hit on every single draft in the next few years. We got to get these good players at cheap contracts because I know y'all been seeing the memes going out there, 97 and 94. Ravens beat the Bengals. Like we might be able to, like we're not going to be able to stop anybody, but I think we'll figure it out.
And while we're on that draft piece, just real quick, I know a lot of people with these moves will be inclined to think that this will make the Bengals completely look away from potentially drafting receivers. But I think it's actually quite the opposite because I think you have to get a legit answer at that wide receiver 3 spot for a very low cost because Yoshi as a late round pick is entering. Is this year 3 or 4 for Yoshi?
This year 3.
Year 3 for Yoshi. So if Yoshi doesn't pop this year, we're probably not doing any type of extension with him. If Burton doesn't get his head on straight, this is probably his last chance. I've never really viewed Charlie Jones as a wide receiver 3. And all the other guys who are Kendrick Pryor, Isaiah Williams, nobody that you're looking at to be in wide receiver 3. So I think that is a spot that, fans should definitely still keep an eye on, as you're looking at pro days, as you're going back and looking at draft coverage or listening to draft coverage as we, quickly approach draft season. Definitely still keep receiver in mind, especially if the Bengals can find a way to get some more picks. because we only have 6 right now. We need more than that.
Yoshi only had 36 receptions last year.
Now I know Jaceki played a big part in that because he was that true Tyler Boyd replacement, but I wanted to see a bigger jump from Yoshi than what we saw. Those 36 catches he had, a lot of them were big catches. A lot of them were third down conversions and first downs. So I do think the plays that he does make are impactful. I just need to see that next step from him. I need to see that if something happens to T or Jamar, he can be that 2 versus like you really a 3 or 4.
Yeah, I really thought that he was. I only say 36 receptions the way I did because going into last season, I just thought he was going to blow up. I thought he
Yeah,
was just going to have a crazy year. 70
same,
receptions,
same,
800 yards, something of that nature.
same.
Still there. He's very talented, but we'll see what happens with it. We talked about the Bengals. Yeah, Jamar T. Trey. I don't know. Is there what else do you want to discuss? Is there anything else you want to cover? I didn't. That's all I really
Yeah.
wanted to go over.
The only other thing that I really wanted to bring up, and I'll pose it to you first, is let's say the trade deal, the trade extension does happen, because I think we're both on the side of that, if I'm not mistaken, in the belief that that deal does get done. Do you think that's it, or do you think that they look to add anywhere, guard, linebacker, corner, safety? Do you think that would be it?
As far as signings,
Yeah, yeah.
like
As
free
far
agent
as as
signings,
far as free agency move. Yeah.
yeah. Unless we have like one of those obscure 1 year deals out there, yeah. I think the focus now is on the draft. Yeah, I think like I
Okay.
said earlier, this is the first offseason in a couple of years where they don't have these big contracts lingering over their head. And I
Hmm.
think if they were to have a big, I mean, Trey is still lingering, but I think that was the least of their worries when it came to the large contracts, honestly. And I think they feel good going into it. And I think they want to focus on the draft. I think they really want to focus on getting more picks, like you just mentioned, and seeing
Hmm.
how they can be flexible with that. Hopefully, Duke's on the phone with teams like, hey, if this shakes out this way, are you willing to move this? I'm willing to give up 17 if this happens, without giving up too much of your hand. I think that's what they're focused on. So we need the issue with yes, we need guards. All right, that's a known fact. We need guards, but there's just nobody out there that I'm willing to, um, unless you get a depth piece. But we've been getting depth pieces for the past few years. We need a bona fide starter. That's what
Yeah.
we need. Somebody
I
that can
mean,
come in day one and play.
the thing about it is right now the only guard you have on the team is Cody Ford. You literally have no, in my opinion, you have no starting guard on your team. So while some teams may view him as a depth piece, Brandon Scherf, if I'm not mistaken, didn't allow a single sack last year. Dalton Reisner, I think, allowed maybe 1 sack last year. So I'd be looking
Well,
to add one, if not both of those guys. And even though Reisner played right guard this past season, every other season he's played left guard. Brandon Scherf played almost 9,000 snaps at right guard solely. I think you could bring both of
would
those
you
guys in.
would you trade Trey in the fourth for Quentin Nelson? Who hangs up?
100, absolutely, I would do it.
Who hangs up? The
Um,
fourth is too low. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to go crazy and say a second.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
would
you're getting
ask
Trey on
for a
top of it.
third. I would ask for a third, but it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me if it was a fourth. I think those two players are fairly equivalent. If you look at their production for their position,
How old
um,
is Quentin Nelson?
I think he's in that same age range, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like those positions kind of age. He's 28,
Hmm.
and I think the money is similar. I mean, it could work.
Hmm.
But I really would love to see
It's
the Bills
interesting.
have
I
two
thought he was
guards.
like 20. I thought he might have been 26. I would trade him, but I don't know if I give up a fourth.
Oh no, no, no.
Maybe
I'm
a
saying
fifth.
I'm saying give me a fourth.
All right, for the Bengals,
Yeah, yeah. Give
Quentin
me
Nelson's still
Nelson
a
in the
top
pick.
3 guard.
I mean, what do you? I mean, what's more important, guard or edge rusher?
They're not gonna give you a four for that.
Then I'm gonna hang up the phone.
All right, fair. That's it. You answered the question.
Yeah.
All right, my bad. You said the 2 guards that you think we should sign.
And the two guys that are, I know everybody wants Tevin Jenkins. I know that's the big name that's still out there. I think you can get Brandon Scherf and Dalton Reisner for the price that Tevin Jenkins is going to be. So if the Bengals are truly in the Tevin Jenkins conversation, as it's been rumored, then personally, I would sign Scherf and Reisner for probably what Jenkins is going to get. Jenkins probably going to get 16 mil a year. Zeitler, who was a similar player to Reisner and Scherf, maybe a grade above, signed 1 year, 9 million. So, I think you can get Reisner and Scherf for, probably those two combined for 13, $14 million.
Yeah, because I don't know. He hasn't missed a ton of games, but he misses games. I guess
Yeah,
almost
and my thing with him,
certain
he's
he's gonna miss a
better in the
game.
run game. His bread and butter really is the run game, and that's just not what I personally want to see the Bengals go for.
I'm cool with Scherf. The only issue with Scherf is obviously he'll be 34,
Hmm.
and I'm just tired of stopgaps. I just want to. I want someone that's going to be there that we know can be reliable and protect Joe. We've literally had the offensive line conversation every season.
Yeah, I just don't trust the Bengals to draft. If you look at our best players on our offensive line, Orlando Brown Jr., we had to trade for him, bring him in. Uh, Ted Karras, he was an external free agent. Even Cody Ford, the guy that they like, even though I'm not a fan, external free agent. Kappa, when he was at his best, external free agent. I mean, Mims is the only guy on that line that's a drafted guy that's gonna be legit. He showed that promise, and I just don't think the Bengals are in a position to take an offensive lineman, especially an interior offensive lineman in the first round. So you got it. This is just the year that you have to go do that. Um, you got to go get you another stopgap. And guess what? This draft is going to be probably defense heavy. Well, 2026, it needs to be 3 O linemen. You know what I'm saying? Minimum. So that's
That's
just how
real.
I look at it. And I
That's
and I do
real.
like Matt Lee, in that it could be a potential guard center possibility, but it's not something that you can bank on. But I think that is the one guy that could potentially become something that's on the roster right now.
Yeah. Um. Okay, I like it. But yeah, I think outside of that, I don't think we're doing much. I think you get another running back, but I don't think it's going to be anything soon. It's just one of those right before camp type of signings. I think.
What if the
Did we talk
Bengals
about
got
JK?
J.K. Dobbins? Yeah, what if that
I'm about to
happens?
say we talk about JK. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I think we even talked about it last episode. I think we said like maybe if we can get him for 1 year,
Yeah,
4 mil or something, like 3 mil, and maybe a ladder to get him to four or something. I'm cool with that.
I think
I'm
I
cool with
think
that
I
because
mean
he's a
not.
playmaker too. He'll do well in the offense with Joe.
Yeah, Najee Harris getting 9 million makes me think Dobbins will probably at least get like 7, but we'll see.
He can't stay on the field. Like, I'm not
I mean,
paying you
he
that.
was he. I mean, if it wasn't for Joe, he would have won comeback player of the year. He was on the field all year this year, so uh,
Yeah, but I want to see it again.
I get it. But if you asking somebody to sign a 1 year prove it deal, you get. I mean, again, I'm going. If I'm his agent, hey, this guy Najee, who nobody likes, who has no explosion, who splits carries, nah. So again, I'm not saying he's gonna get 9, but I think it's probably gonna be closer to 7.
That's fair. That's fair. Like I've been
And I
saying, all
would
it takes
pay
is
it.
one team.
I would pay it because we got P Ryan for $2 million. Chase Brown was a 5th round pick, so I know he's not. He's probably not even making $1 million. And
Did Did you listen to Pete Ron's press conference?
I didn't because
I heard
I
some.
did.
I heard some things about it.
What'd he say? Or what'd you
I don't
hear?
know. I just heard something about like going over and getting like learning from champions. I don't know if this is true or not because I didn't listen to it, but I just
Yeah.
heard rumblings about.
The only
I don't
thing
know.
that I heard that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, I heard a clip where he said, "I always wanted to get back." And I just didn't feel like that was the case because why you ain't come sign with us when we needed a running back instead of us having to trade for Herbert? Like you wouldn't sign with the Chiefs
Yeah, I don't know. Either way,
because he remember he went to Denver and Denver cut him. He wanted
yeah,
to
I
be
remember.
in Denver.
Yeah, I remember.
So,
Yeah, that's all I really got, man. It'll be interesting. We'll obviously have another episode here soon.
because
Just
Trey
talking about
probably
this
gonna get
upcoming
announced
draft.
tonight at 11,
Yeah, yeah.
like T and Jamar.
Or if we trade him, I'm sure we'll have something. I don't think anything. I'm gonna stick with it. I don't think anything's happening with Trey until draft time.
Hey,
If he doesn't sign, if he
there is a press conference scheduled for tomorrow at 2. So maybe they want to add another seat at the dais.
well, it goes to what I said. If he gets signed, it's going to be soon. Like when all the energy of everybody signing happens, let's go ahead and get this done. Like he'll agree to it. If it doesn't happen, if we don't get an announcement about an extension, it's not happening anytime soon. Nothing's gonna happen again until draft time. That's just my prediction.
Will T, Joe, and Jamar walk out at the press conference like it's the coin toss tomorrow?
I don't know if they'll walk out like that, but it's gonna be a good day. I can't wait to watch that press conference.
Do you think Joe will be there?
He'll be there. I don't think he'll be speaking. I think he'll want to be there to support his guys. Um, but I think he'll be there. I think he'll be there.
I think
Yeah.
I think they're gonna play Trey's wrestling music. He's gonna come out like Stone Cold or Undertaker or something at the
I would love it. Sign me up. Sign me up, man. I would love it. I would love it. I just don't see it happening. So yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's it, man. Emergency episode in the can. Jamar and T get paid. We'll see what happens with Trey. We'll see what other offseason and moves the Bengals will make. Until then, you'll be hearing this on Tuesday. If you listen to when it drops, we should have another episode for you within a week, 10 days. We want to start talking about some of these rookies. We've been saying a lot of names, maybe give a little bit of background on who they are, why they might fit the Bengals. And we teased an episode where we're going to have a mock draft. Phil, myself, Brother Corey probably get on here. He's a Giants fan, and maybe just have a mock draft to kind of go through the first 2 rounds or something. Just have a little bit of fun until things really heat up with the draft. Phil and myself also had some ideas for some off-season episodes and just kind of talking about guys around the league and, king of the hill, man. Who's the king of the hill at each position and all that kind of good stuff. So with that being said, we appreciate you. As always, it's a good day to be a Bengals fan, especially when you pay your stars.
Yes,
we'll see you next time. Who they?
Who they?